Back here on the Rich Eisen Show, Kevin Harlan. How are you, Kevin?
Morning, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Before we talk hoops, let's talk Super Bowl 50. What was that game like from your perspective?
Well, I thought it was exciting throughout. I know it was probably kind of boring for people to watch. I love defense, and I thought that the biggest play and the defining play of the game was the hit on Newton at the 5 with the ball going into the end zone and Bo Jackson jumping on it. And I think Mike Tyson said it best. Everyone's got a plan until they catch one across the chin, until they take a punch, and then what happens? And I saw a Carolina team that looked stunned, and that just empowered Denver, and I think that set the tone for the rest of the game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Cam just looked off. Everybody looked off. Gano looked off. Kuechly was the only one that appeared to be on. I mean, Josh Norman even had an opportunity to pick a ball off. He couldn't do it. It just looked like, you're right, the hits that kept coming just kept compounding, and Carolina couldn't overcome it.
Smartly, Denver stuck with the same plan they had against Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh, against Brady and the Patriots, and they came out very businesslike, knowing they'd have to play complementary football, which they did. Every phase of their game helped the other. They didn't put too much on Manning's plate, and I don't even know if he could have handled it had they needed him. But he did enough in a performance that statistically was not great, but I know that maybe even more of an influence on that Denver team, Rich, might have been, just the fact that they had something to play for, bigger than the ring, if it could be said that a team would play for something better than a championship. I think Manning may have had more of an effect on that team than we give credit for. And I think DeMarcus Ware did the same thing on the defensive side. I think they both served as a compass for both those units to play for something with a peer in that locker room, for a guy that had meant so much. I think it took effect. Also, did you notice before the game?
Yes.
And I know you were down in your set, but did you notice before the game? I've never seen a team in a Super Bowl pregame do more dancing, more screwing around in the pregame warm-ups in Carolina. I was amazed to watch the way they warmed up. And I'm looking over at Denver, and they're the complete opposite. They're businesslike, focused. Their body language was confident. It was like I was looking at it was like I was watching a movie, and I was watching one team, the team that was the arrogant team, that was the bully and coming in there with not a care in the world, and the other team, which was all business, and they played that way.
I got to be honest with you, Kevin. I mean, I was down on the field. I chatted with Olsen and Jared Allen before, and it took a couple of minutes for them to actually notice anybody standing there. They appear to be locked into me. I don't know.
I was up in the box. I was up, 5 stories. So, but
you saw
watching
it all. Yeah.
I don't know. It just looked like a different team preparing.
Well, I mean, it was basically everybody in Denver essentially said after the game, "You live by the dab, you die by it." Essentially, was what their message was, and it was a dab-free contest, and that's why I think everyone was so disappointed with the way that Cam comported himself post-game, because if you say all year long, "Wipe it off my face if you don't want to see my smile," and they did it, then credit should be given due to the other side. I don't know what your stance is on that before we moved on.
Well,
to the hoops.
I understand all of this. I mean, he's 26. He's just like probably the first gigantic failure he's ever had in his athletic life, aside from leaving Florida after being recruited with Tebow to play for Urban Meyer. I mean, I think that probably, then going to the junior college, kind of rearranging his mind and his football career there, and then certainly the catapult, what we saw at Auburn, and onto the pros. But I don't know that he's ever had to deal with something as hurtful and on such a big stage, where he was one of the big topics going in over the previous 10 days leading up to the game. And then disappointing, in so many ways, not with just his own performance, but the entire team's performance. And then the interview thing at the end of the game, I'm not sure where physically, geographically that was set up or how that was, but
it's odd.
It sounds like it was a mess.
Yeah, it's odd. There's podiums behind podiums and next to podiums, and it's willy-nilly as to who can get up there because of how many media members there are and when the players are available. It was just an unfortunate sequence, certainly for Cam Newton. I'm on the phone with Kevin Harlan here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's switch to a bunch of the guys that you'll be covering in Toronto who were either in the stands or taking photographs on the field for Super Bowl 50. Did you see Durant's pictures for the Players Tribune? Did you see those photos, Kevin?
I loved it. I loved
Me
all
too.
these guys. I guess Kevin took a little tour of the Bay Area when he was in town.
Yeah, I mean, and he, there's a lot of talk that there was even some rumor. There was some rumor in Super Bowl week that Durant might wind up with Golden State for some reason. If the OKC believes that he's not going to re-sign, that they'll get some sort of value for him. I don't know what that would mean, because to me those are the two of the three teams that can actually win this darn thing, along with the Spurs. How do you see it? Right now, Kevin?
I love everything the Warriors do. Oklahoma City is certainly, with those two kids, I think that they continue to get stronger. Durant is as good a scorer as we know in the league, and the Spurs. Now, I'm anxious to see how they're going to navigate with Ginobili injured and Duncan on the shelf, and you kind of get a glimpse of what they're going to be or what they may become in the not too distant future when these two guys leave. I mean, they mean a lot. They may be in their upper 30s, but they still have a potency with that team and around the league that stands the test of time. But those two guys not in there, they look a little bit debilitated. I still think Golden State, because their starting five is almost as good as their front five. I just don't know how you can get around them. They can ease the minutes for the starters and make sure that there's such continuity from position 1 through 13 that everybody plays and touches the ball and has some kind of contributory role to the team. And listen to this: if they would win tonight against Houston, then play Phoenix tomorrow night, they could go into the All-Star break 48-4. Mm-hmm. And then they've got 30 games left with 13 on the road and 17 at home.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, they're going to be looking right at 72, 73 wins if they so choose to. Or maybe they're going to say, you know what, we're going to back off a little bit, hit the brakes, we're going to rest some guys and going to take some of the San Antonio approach and really lessen the minutes for the guys that are going to have to play some intense minutes come playoff time.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting decision.
Yeah, I hear you. That's interesting. You rarely hear that in the NBA. That's usually an NFL conversation around week 14, 15, or 16, right? That's a rarity for the NBA. I'm on the phone with Kevin Harlan here on the Rich Eisen Show. And the Eastern Conference All-Star head coach, Tyronn Lue, he does appear to have made a difference in Cleveland. Would you agree with that assessment so far?
Different
Kevin?
voice. I think from the very beginning, he and James connected. Now, Tyronn has been with some pretty good coaches, and around the league, his reputation is very, very solid. Players coach, but a guy who knows the game and gritty. And I think they respect the fact that, while not the biggest guy on the floor by any means, that he was able to carve out a career in this league and draw the kind of praise from guys he played under and then coached besides that really stood up well. And I think that guys like James recognize that. And James has got the big voice in that locker room. This is nothing against Blatt, but it just seems like Tyronn is very locked into the game, the strategy, and was taught well by a variety of guys. He was a championship guy with the Lakers. He had that responsibility with Los Angeles. He's been an assistant coach with some terrific guys. As we said, I just think his resume speaks loud, and I think they heard it, and I think they saw him perhaps even correct some things along the David Blatt path. Things he had to kind of clean up as Blatt was moving ahead with different substitution patterns, timeouts. We saw it all, over the last couple of years. So I think he has had a definite impact on that team.
And there's a chance the host city might have a piece of the best record in the conference by the time everybody gets to the All-Star game. I mean, Toronto's been playing very well. And what do you expect? What are you looking forward to most for this upcoming weekend? Is it Kobe? Is something else, Kevin?
Well, Dan, we have had on TNT a lot of these Kobe farewell games, and I got to tell you that he's not, as the country song goes, he's not as good as he once was, but every once in a while he's as good as he used to be, and you see it. I mean, you really appreciate just how he's going about his business. He's keeping his body right where Gary Vitti wants him to in terms of physically how he's got to be, and he's just really played some terrific basketball on a team, granted, that doesn't have a lot of stars, but a lot of young kids who I think are going to make their mark in this league. But it's just wonderful to watch him play at this age. And we watched Peyton over the weekend, over the last year, knowing this is probably his last season. And we just saw Jeter a couple years ago, and now we're seeing Kobe Bryant. I mean, that's a big hit on sports fans to have three guys that you've embraced or hated, but certainly had great emotion for, leave us, and that's tough to take. It was hard to watch Manning walk off that field, maybe for the final time. I think it's going to be hard to watch Kobe walk off the All-Star floor, where he's been an 18-time All-Star, and then eventually in April, hang up the sneakers. And but it's great that we were all a chance, and I know you had a front row seat like all of us did in the business to watch him and enjoy his play.
Well, I'm just glad that Curry's going to be in the three-point contest, right?
Yeah,
I mean, no, I am, because the number of times that the best in the association at one of the skills challenges doesn't take part in it, right? The slam dunk contest didn't have Jordan for so many years after he, took off from the free throw line. I guess he figured, what more can you do?
Right.
I'm looking forward to that. I really am. That'll be fun.
I am too.
Night.
I mean, I think there are a couple kids in there that are worth watching. In the slam dunk, Zach LaVine is a high flyer, and he'll be fun. But the three-point contest with guys like Devin Booker, who leads the league in three-point percentage right now, the rookie out of Kentucky, who now becomes a starter. Chris Bosh is going to enter it, for the first time as a big man. I think that's going to be fun to watch, because he's always tried, as he's grown older, he's had to move out even more than he would like to probably, but he's had to work on that shot. That's good with Curry there, Harden there, Thompson there, Redick. We got some terrific shooters, and that is fun. I think the shooting thing is a blast to watch. It takes such great skill. During a game when you watch, for instance, Curry try to maneuver to get open, there's almost as much skill in getting open and knowing where your footwork has got to be just right and the rhythm of the movements to get that shot away the way he does. I mean, there's a lot of mechanics involved, and while it may not be as much in terms of movement, certainly in the three-point shooting contest. We'll watch a game like tonight on TNT. It'll be a blast to watch him try to get open, handle the ball as much as he does. He feeds the ball as much as he shoots it. But, boy, when he shoots the ball, it is a thing of beauty. I really think he's the greatest shooter that pro basketball has ever seen. I think he's purer than Reggie. And maybe than Ray. I mean, this may be the best we've ever seen do what he's doing right now.
Do me a favor, say that when you're calling the three-point contest with Reggie Miller and Kenny Smith on Saturday night.
I would say it, and he would probably agree.
Okay, please do that, Kevin. That'll be fun. I look forward to that. Thanks for
suggestion.
Thanks for calling in, Kevin. I appreciate that.
Always a pleasure, Rich. Thank you.
You bet. That's Kevin Harlan. He is going to be doing the All-Star Saturday Night festivities on TNT.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.